Hey everyone, back again. Today I want to answer a question that I've gotten quite a lot via Instagram and Patreon and on YouTube and emails and stuff about how I got into this stuff, like philosophy and theory, and what I'm doing now. Now, before jumping into that, if you're new here, welcome. I'm David. I try to explain philosophical texts in a somewhat accessible way. That is, I just present individual texts so that it can help you understand them more fully on your philosophical journey, maybe. If not, it can at least supplement the knowledge you already have, maybe. And I'd like to hear from you, so make sure to comment and stuff. And if you want to follow me anywhere other than here, you can find me on Instagram, where I'm obviously, you can reach me there if anyone wants to send a message or chat a bit. I'm available. If you want to help me out, you can like, share, subscribe. If you want to help me out monetarily, you can do that via Patreon or PayPal. But obviously no pressure. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's jump into, I guess, a brief story time where I guess the roots of this, my interest in this stuff, actually began in high school, where I was doing quite a bit of sports, and my coach for running and basketball had actually done his master's degree on Marcuse. And he'd mentioned that, and I had like kind of a faint interest in academia and kind of valorizing like these higher forms of education at that young age, but I didn't know anything, and I didn't know Marcuse, but that was certainly laying the foundations for my interest in higher education. And he also recommended me reading a bunch of other things, and I was interested in literature, but at the time it reflected certainly a kind of white Western literary canon, so texts like Brave New World, 1984, Catcher in the Rye, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Catch-22, all dead white dudes. So I was obviously indoctrinated into that tradition, much to my chagrin, at least today, when I reflect upon that. But in any case, that kind of set the tone for my interest in this stuff. And then from there, if anyone is from Quebec here, you would know that after high school, you go to a thing called Cégep, which is like an intermediary between high school and university, where you take essentially university level courses for a fraction of the price. And it's, as a kind of propaganda thing right now, I will just say it's a great system in that it allows people to learn what they like without spending thousands of dollars on tuition, so they can find out what they're interested in, and then when they actually go to apply to university, if they choose to, they won't have spent so much money trying to figure out what they want to do. But when I was there, I went to a cégep called John Abbott, which is on the West Island of Montreal, where I took some philosophy classes, specifically philosophy classes by a woman named Irini Sakiri, who really opened my eyes to a lot of these things. And I don't know if she's still working there, or if anyone here has gone to John Abbott or knows her, but she's a really great thinker and really passionate about this stuff. But as well, I began to take some English classes and sociology classes that I found illuminating. But at the time, really my interest was in math, which is maybe surprising. And still to this day, I love math. I even though I don't really keep up with it, I find it a fascinating topic. And if I were to have done anything else in university, I would have done math, like without a doubt. And then after that is after Cégep, I went to Bishop's University, which is a small university in the Eastern Townships in a small town called Lennoxville in Quebec, where I did English, and I was really indoctrinated into literary theory, which was a very cool thing for me, that is learning about deconstruction and all that. But surprisingly, at Bishop's, when I was in English, I was actually exposed to a lot of Baudrillard's thought, which it's surprising because it's not really all that common to be reading Baudrillard in university, aside from a few kind of key texts. But quite a few of the profs I had actually done quite a bit of work with Baudrillard. And it was shortly after I began there, I guess in my second year, third year, I had actually grabbed a minor in sociology, where I began to work or take classes with Jerry Coulter. And if anyone is familiar with Baudrillard studies at all, you'd know that he founded the Journal of Baudrillard Studies, or the International Journal of Baudrillard Studies. And that really fomented my interest in Baudrillard's work. And that was really kind of dominated my thinking at that time. And even though I was still kind of drawing from kind of Frankfurt School set of ideas. At the time, though, of course, I didn't really understand what was going on. I just liked to drop names around and pretend I was smart with like Marcuse and stuff. I began to be interested in people like Foucault and Baudrillard a lot, and really pretending like I knew what was going on with that stuff there as well. And then after Bishops, I applied and began doing my master's at University of Western Ontario in a program called Theory and Criticism, in which where I wrote my master's thesis about Baudrillard and posthumanism that was titled The Mirror of Humanism. And I'll attach a link to that below if anyone's interested. I looked at it recently. It's not very good. It essentially is just a critique of posthumanism through kind of Baudrillardian lens. But I wrote that a few years ago. And I also wrote in that time a critique of Jordan Peterson's work, which I can also put a link to here if anyone's interested in that. And then I began, after that, I moved from that department to media studies, still at the University of Western Ontario, to do some work on conspiracy theories. And I thought that media studies was a good fit for me because it was a little bit more topical. That is, it was nice to work with theory and criticism, but it at times felt a little bit detached from stuff that I was experiencing in my day-to-day life. And so I wanted to have something a little bit more grounded maybe, and also looking to the future. Media studies is kind of a burgeoning field to some extent, and so I was thinking it might be a little bit more lucrative in the long run. So I began in media studies and published another article on Baudrillard and titled Baudrillard's Binaries, which I don't think I can link because I think it's behind institutional paywalls and stuff, which is a real shame. And so in media studies, at least my doctorate is specifically about conspiracy theories and their relationship to truth, without saying too much about it. Maybe one day, if I ever finish it, I'll do a more full-length thing about what I tried to argue. But that's kind of on its way, and I should have another article coming out on vaporwave, which I'm sure some people would find interesting, but that's like pretty much my basic journey. I started this channel sometime in the second year, I think, of my master's degree, particularly because I was dissatisfied with the amount of knowledge I had about these things that I was supposed to know about, and so I just began to read a lot. And this helped me to kind of motivate me to keep reading, which has been helpful for me now. So for those unfamiliar, at least in some doctoral programs, what you do in your second year is do what's, at least in my department, called a comprehensive exam or the Fields exam, in which you demonstrate your proficiency in the canon of the thing you're discussing. And I was worried partly that I would stop reading after that. That is, I would know everything I needed to know, and that would be it. So this channel has kept me reading things because I feel like I have to keep putting stuff up. And it's a really great way for me not only to be reading things, but to be taking notes and preparing them, and to be able to put them in somewhat accessible language, which I think is in part one of the difficulties of this field. That is, it's too easy to get caught in a kind of esoteric or exclusive field of possible words in favor of more accessible speech. And yeah, so I hope to keep doing this for at least another year after I do my doctorate. If I do indeed finish it, it'll probably be more difficult for me to keep doing videos because I'll have to be looking for jobs and publishing and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much my shtick, my spiel. And if anyone has any more questions, I'd love to field them. And yeah, catch you next time.